Pope Francis, the leader of the Catholic Church, has recently passed. And with his passing, I have been wanting to share his comments about pornography addiction, what it does to your mind, your psyche, your body, and especially your relationships. So I want to take that opportunity today. Welcome back to the Dr. Trish Leigh podcast. Let's dive in. I'm on a mission to help people elevate their minds over explicit matter. That's the name of my new book that you can grab if you're looking for help. But let's do it. Let's elevate your mind. I want to share the Pope's comments. Let's dive in. Before we do, though, I want to remind you that this podcast is part of my outreach program as part of my nonprofit organization, Porn Brain Prevention. Now more than ever, we need to help kids prevent them from ever getting roped into pornography addiction. So if you want to help me on that mission, please go over to pornbrainprevention.org and donate. I always match all the donations. So I would really appreciate that. Okay, let's dive in. I'm going to read to you what the Pope has said. He said that sexual pleasure that is a gift from God is undermined by pornography. Satisfaction without relationship that can generate forms of addiction. We have to defend love, the love of the heart, of the mind, of the body. Pure love in the giving of oneself to the other. And this is the beauty of sexual intercourse. So cool, right? I love the fact that he had, I don't know how many, hundreds of thousands of people around when he made these comments multiple times. He went on to say, among all human pleasures, sexuality has a powerful voice. It involves all the senses. It dwells both in the body and in the psyche, and this is very beautiful. But if it is not disciplined with patience, if it is not inscribed in a relationship and in a story where two individuals transform it into a loving dance, it turns into a chain that deprives human beings of freedom. Totally awesome, right? This man is ahead of his time in terms of what he is speaking out about pornography. He goes on to say, now with every single person having a phone in their pocket, the dangers of becoming addicted to porn are greater than ever. And you know who's with them. This girl. So, on the heels of his passing, let's dive into this concept of porn is not just about a harmless habit that a person does to relax. That's what so many people tell themselves. It's not true. It's more than that. It's taking you away from optimal functioning in your mind, in your body, in your brain. The Pope didn't mention that, but from my perspective, all of the issues that you struggle with, they come from the brain dysfunction that results from a pornography habit. So he's spot on in terms of spirituality and neurologically, whether he knew it or not. So those are the comments, and he touched upon mind, body, psyche, and relationships, talking about pleasure and pleasure that isn't shared between two people, and especially pleasure that you don't have the patience to commit to and to intentionally invest in. That's what porn is. It's instant gratification, easy button behavior to flood your brain with dopamine to make you feel good in an instant. But unfortunately, it takes you away from being able to go into your real life and find the pleasure there. So let's break down for a minute how porn hijacks the dopamine reward center and reward pathways in your brain, linking you back to the screen. And if masturbation's coupled with porn, which it usually is, you're linking yourself to yourself. Now, the Pope commented that sexual pleasure becomes a loving dance between partners. That becomes a missing element when you link your brain to the screen, which is a performance, it's fantasy, it's very high levels of dopamine, a deluge, a flood, but you're unlinking your brain from that dance with your partner. And I probably don't have to tell you what that feels like because I'm sure you know the disconnect that can happen when your brain becomes linked to the screen and yourself. There's a disconnect between you and the real world pleasure, and especially real world sexual pleasure with your partner. Loving dance. Now, what the Pope didn't touch upon is that we also know that a porn habit causes ED. If you have erectile dysfunction from desensitizing the dopamine receptors in your brain, How can you possibly engage in that loving dance that is one of the greatest gifts from God, the Pope says, sexual pleasure within your relationship with your partner? It's designed to connect you to your partner so that you can have children from an evolutionary sense of reproduction and that you want to stay together for the strength of a tribe to raise those children together, which, as the mom of 5 kids and as the partner of a man who, um, on some days can be, I don't know a kind way to put it, he is an interesting being. He's getting more interesting as he grows older, which I've shared this with him. I'm like, you really have become weird. And you know what he says? Thank you, as he walks across the house. But the whole point is raising 5 kids together and staying together, there's gotta be some pleasure in the relationship. Am I right? So, speaking of my own relationship, but not speaking too much, there is the opportunity to create joy, happiness, and pleasure in your relationship. And those moments when the hubs is being weird, it's usually because he's being funny and bringing joy and happiness to our relationship, which cracks me up. And then we go back and forth. Then, of course, having intimacy and time together, which is fleeting with 5 children. It's important to reconnect with physical intimacy and with that pleasure in the loving dance. It's an important piece of a loving relationship. If your brain is linked to the screen, you rob yourself of that. If you struggle with sexual arousal dysfunction, sad, you have anxiety when it comes to being with your partner. Now, let's think about this for just a second because I often liken porn addiction to an eating disorder. When it comes to porn consumption and going to the screen for high levels of dopamine, that's like a person who has an eating disorder of overeating sugar. So I think of those chocolate cakes from the grocery store that are laden with the sprinkles on the inside of all different colors and the frosting on the top of all different colors. Those colors are chemical dyes that have been proven scientifically to be harmful to your cells and to your brain function and to your health. But a lot of people don't know that. So there's many people who still go buy those cakes and eat them because they're delicious. And if you have an eating disorder, you eat a lot of them. You're looking for the sugar rush. Even if you feel a little junky from the chemicals after, your brain is linked to the dopamine flood that you get from overeating those cakes. So if you're consuming porn in your man cave in the basement, it's like you've gone downstairs with a sheet cake to keep eating slice after slice of cake that's laden with chemicals and maybe you don't know. But now here's the point about erectile dysfunction. You've eaten so much of that cake, you realize it's not good for you. You realize it's giving you ED. Now you go to be with your partner and you can't because the dopamine receptors in your brain have been completely desensitized. They only get excited about chocolate cake with multicolored frosting on it. Now, your emotionally healthy partner, you know what she's like? She's like a French meal. If you've ever eaten in a French restaurant, the portions are small, but everything is delicious. Every bite is a tasty morsel. And your dessert comes, it's this big. It is as tiny as a speck, but it's made with slow churned butter off of a French mountainside. It's delicious. All you need is one bite of chocolate ganache. This is what the meal is with your partner. But now you're so stressed out because you know you have ED. And just like in anorexia, your brain gets linked to the cortisol production. When a person has anorexia or they won't eat, it actually becomes a stressor to eat. And it becomes a stressor because of something that's happened in their life typically. So now food in of itself is dopamine producing. Sugary cake, much higher dopamine, but a French meal, dopamine at the perfect level. We'll call it the happiness trifecta if you know what I'm talking about. Dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin. Pleasure, joy, happiness, and connection. That's what a French meal's like with your partner. But if you're anxious about it, now it's like you have an eating disorder where you can't eat. It stresses you out. This is autonomic nervous system dysfunction at its finest. You want the chocolate cake because you're looking for the dopamine, but now you've got a cortisol spike with your partner. This is what porn does. That's why it infiltrates your mind, your body, your psyche, and your relationship. The Pope was spot on. Now, what do you do about it, right? That's why we're here on the Dr. Trish Leigh podcast and on my YouTube channel. We want to elevate your mind over porn use. But that's very difficult because guess what? You're using your distorted mind to do so. So it is imperative that you rewire your brain back to healthy levels. How do you do that? You use neuroscience and advanced technology like we use at Dr. Trish Leigh and Company. So if you want to know more about that, go over to my website, drtrishleigh.com. You can also use brain hack strategies at home that rewire your mind. Use your mind and body in a different way. So here's your brain hack strategy for the day. Anytime you feel an urge or a craving to consume porn, think about the Pope. Do this, 2 fingers on your temple. Mind over. You can elevate your mind over porn. And that's what the Pope told you. You have to stay away from it. It's taking you away from your God given purpose. Mind over. Now, when you do this, yes, it's fun, but when you do this, you're also shifting yourself into a new mental and physical place. You're breaking your thought pattern of the urge, and by moving your body, you're getting into your body. Mind over. Use your body in a new way, use your mind in a new way. Try it. I bet you it will work. Mind Over Explicit Matter. You got it. Now, of course, go get my book, Mind Over Explicit Matter. You can find it on Audible, read by yours truly. You can find it at Amazon. You can find it at Barnes & Noble and anywhere else you buy books. Now, remember, the Pope was onto something. He wanted the best for you. I want the best for you. So elevate your mind over porn and control your brain, or it'll control you. I'll see you next time.